Welcome to Habitly Courses, a production of Manage to Win. Each course is divided into multiple lessons for easy viewing. All are now completely free, so you can watch them on your own or work through them as a team. Please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, and share your favorite lessons with others. Try to find something that helps you be your best. Hello, this is David Russell. We're back with Communications 101. Lesson 1 is on listening. We want to listen first. And so this is very important, going to be valuable for you, give you some good tips. What is the most important thing to do when communicating with someone else? Well, I just told you, listen. Now, very important though, let me give you something maybe you have not considered. We want to listen to a person's emotions a little bit more than their words, because there's some underlying things going on there. And oftentimes, and I am quoting Connor Neal here, because, and I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but I do like this statement, because what you want to say is often different than what the other person wants to hear. So we need to keep that in mind. And what we're going to focus on a lot here is trying to get to that point where you understand what they want to hear and how they want to communicate, how they want to do things, so you can adapt your message, you can adapt your communication to their preferred style. Not to be manipulative, but to be more effective. So we're going to emphasize active listening. And why active listening is so important is it confirms understandings and it avoids assumptions. We don't want to get hurt by assumptions. It happens too much. It demonstrates respect. Oftentimes, if you are truly listening well, it catches information that you're missing. And long-term, it builds much stronger relationships. And that's what we want. Now, what about that person who pushes your button, pull your trigger? Well, that's emotional flooding. We have a whole course on that, on workplace drama. But just in brief, when somebody pushes those buttons, pulls your trigger, first thing you need to do is slow the breathing and your thoughts, because you'll start breathing faster, your heart will start pumping, and basically your thoughts will be, type of go. Control your body language. Try to keep the facial expression fairly blank, okay? And if there's any way your response can wait, for instance, you're on a phone with somebody and they start pushing your buttons, then get off the phone politely, respectfully, ask if you can, call them back, that type of thing. If it's face-to-face, if you can retreat a little bit and, confirm you hear them, summarize, and then take a break, that can be very helpful. Now, if it's a now item, all right, then, you might want to retreat to a private area. If you can't do it yourself, then, alone, then you might retreat to a private area with them and then try to follow some of these same processes and then listen actively. Now, I have a lot more on dealing with drama in that course. I'm not going to dive in deep here. One of the things you don't want to do with other people is interrupt them. It is disrespectful. It's unproductive. And what it is you're assuming you know more than they do. And you're assuming you know what they're going to say next. Well, I'm sorry, but you're not always right. Instead, we want to use verbal cues for empathy. Things like, oh, I see. Oh, I understand. Oh, that's a good point. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, I'll say, oh, that's a good question. And then I'll answer their question. I can see you feel strongly about that. I understand how you could see it like that. Those types of things will help you transition to the next part of your conversation. Now, some key attributes of active listening. I've got 6 here on the screen. The last one in some ways is most important. But let's kind of walk through these. The first thing is what you're trying to do is be respectful and in kind of a detective-like way, identify the true needs, what they're truly trying to communicate. You have 2 types of questions you can ask. You can ask open-ended questions, what, why, how, to discover or extend the conversation regarding issues, or closed-ended questions that are who, would, where, that clarify details. Both are important, okay? And you want to use I statements where appropriate, so you're not, accusing them of something. You're saying, here's what I hear you saying, and am I correct? Boom. Build upon the areas of agreement, but basically what you're doing is as you listen, you're repeating back a summary of what you hear to confirm their concerns and needs, or maybe it's some new idea. You want to say, okay, if I'm understanding you correctly, boom, here's what you're saying. Now, let me close this particular lesson by walking you through what I'm calling a learn communication process. And the LEARN is an acronym. Now, it's inspired by a U.S. Coast Guard LEAPS method. I wanted to change a few things that they had, and so I had to come up with another acronym. But basically, when you're listening, you're going to listen to the message that's being communicated carefully and attentively. You got an open mind to what's being said, and don't jump in and be quick to offer advice or solutions. Remember, we're being a detective. Detectives ask good questions. That's the L, listen to the message. The E in learn is emotions speak louder than words. So as I said, we want to discern what are the emotions behind what they're saying as well as the information they're conveying without quickly judging the sender or the message. Now remember, if you're doing like tech support, sometimes people call you and they're really angry. And they're not angry at you, they're frustrated, they've got a problem, okay? So we need to understand these emotions piece. So we've got the L is listen, the E is emotions, the A is ask questions to get more information, clarify anything you might not fully understand. The R is repeat back key parts. Remember, this is active listening. I'm giving you a process for active listening. You repeat back key parts to summarize what you heard and confirm you're understanding the information correctly. And then the N is you're going to confirm any next steps. So next steps are confirmed, if any. That's this LEARN acronym. I'll show you the whole thing on the screen now so you can see everything on one screen. Had to make it smaller type. But I suggest you learn this. This can walk you through how to be a good listener and work on this. Or maybe you want to pull just one of these and really work on them. This is lesson 1. We're talking about how to listen, be a better listener. So as we conclude, hopefully you've got some scenarios that you're dealing with today or have occurred in the past so you can bring up and say, boy, what would have happened if we had taken this different approach based on what's in this lesson in that situation? I've got 5 questions here at the bottom. And part of this is, can you take one thing from this lesson and apply it and see what happens to be a better listener and somebody who engages with other people? Now, once you feel comfortable with this information, I encourage you to take the exam, pass the exam, and then go on to lesson 2. Bye-bye for now.